Hi, this is Debbie. Welcome back to Cheyenne Life. And this is going to be, yet again, this is going to be the summer garden tour, just beginning of summer. We are into July 2nd now, and wanted to go ahead and give a little update on what's going on here in the garden, how it's looking, and also in the flower beds, which you don't really get a whole lot of a chance to see because I don't really show those. I focus on the vegetables more often than not. But this is the iris patch that I had shown in an earlier video that has yellow irises, and it does not look like that it is going to send up stalks for blooming this year. And it may be because I was so aggressive about cleaning out the weeds in this little flower bed, or not so little, it's pretty big. Anyway, I cleaned out a lot of the leaves, and I think that some of the stuff got up on the root system, and you got to have the roots kind of bare in order for them to send up shoots to bloom. So I don't think we're going to get blooms this year, unfortunately, and sometimes that happens even without cleaning out the flower bed. It's been in full, complete bloom before, so I'm not really sure that that has anything to do with stuff being pulled up at the roots, because it has done that without anything touching anything and then not had any blooms the next following year. So it may be how much it is being shaded, because there are some pine trees that are directly overhead of this flower bed, as well as some cottonwoods that are around. And I am battling neighbors and keeping their trees trimmed, because trees do affect a lot whether or not something blooms, gets enough light, all of that. So I can't really have a whole lot of control over what the neighbors do, but I try to suggest to them, especially if it's limbs that are coming over into our yard, to please trim their limbs back, and they don't ever do that. So we have that little bit of an issue there. But I do have lilies that are blooming or getting ready to bloom. I have lots and lots of lilies in this section, all different colors. And we've got some red ones there in the back that are getting ready to bloom. I mean, they are just on the verge, and they may actually bloom today. So I've got those red ones, and I've got here in the front, when those bloom, they will be a peach color with a purple center, which are very unique. I love the color. And a couple of other ones in here bloom that same color, and then there's some yellows and some whites, and so we have all kinds of colors in here. So we've got that section going on. And I had mentioned in another video that I had planted 50 gladolia bulbs, which are along the fence line, and all of those are coming up. I had a little bit of some pest pressure with squirrels. The squirrels had gotten into the gladolia beds and eaten like 6 gladolias, just had taken bites out of them and then left them. So these darn squirrels are a pain in the butt. They won't touch the garden very much unless the sunflowers are blooming, and then I have problems trying to keep them out of the sunflowers. But other than that, they don't really touch the garden, but they ate gladolia bulbs. It's just the strangest thing. So that is the new gladolias that I have planted. So here in the next shot, I'm going to have you over at the other section of the yard. All right, now we're over in the north section of the flower beds that go around the house. As you can see here, that is the I don't know if I'd call that a bay window as much as it is just a corner window. But we have the rhododendron here that was struggling, didn't think that it made it through the winter, that has now put out leaves, and apparently did make it through the winter, and it looks like that it might actually survive. So I'm going to cover it up this winter and hope that it survives the winter again, because it has for the last 3 years since I've gotten it. But every single time in the spring, we just wonder whether or not it actually made it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, but I did put an azalea behind it. We are getting ready to dig the holes to put the azaleas in, so we've got those arranged around this section. And then we have the lilies here. These are going to be black lilies. They are very, very, very black, and as you can see, the stem is black on those lilies up to a certain point. So you can see what the color of the lily is going to be. So we have a few of those around in strategic areas there. And this section does get sun, but it gets it more later in the the morning into the afternoon, and then from there on it gets sun for the rest of the day. So we do have the strawberries over here. I had to cover those back up because, again, we had more squirrels that were coming in and eating those strawberry roots, killing out the strawberries. So did go ahead and get those covered up. So we've only had one actual strawberry that we've eaten out of these because the birds and the squirrels got the rest before we put the mesh cover on. So I'm hoping that now that we will get some strawberries, because I am seeing some new shoots in there, and these are an ever-bearing variety, so they should send up some more strawberries. The only thing I struggle with in having it in this mesh is that I don't think the honeybees can get in and get to the flowers. So that is kind of a trade-off, I guess. So we have that going on, and again, we have more azaleas that I've got sat around. I had 4, so looking beautiful. I had taken these from a reduced price, and they were looking pretty shabby, and now we've gotten them back to where they should be with some mulching and fertilizer and stuff like that in their pots. Especially these two, because I had those a little bit longer than these two. These two are the newer ones. And then we have more lilies in here, and I've got some jack-o'-lanterns that are tucked in a couple of places here, as well as a sunflower that is coming up. So I pulled away all of the wood mulch away from the jack-o'-lantern here, and within overnight it doubled in size. So the wood mulch is not good to put around the base of squash plants, pumpkins, and things like that. They don't like it. And they made an amazing just jump in size. This one was very, very small overnight. And we did have some rain last night. We had rain a couple of days ago. So all of that natural rain and then pulling away that mulch has really, really just set these jack-o'-lanterns off to a good start. We wanted to have some jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween this year that are our own, like we did last season. Then I put my peony in here, and I'm not even sure what color this peony is going to be. I just picked it up on a reduced sale and stuck it in, so we will find out what happens, because I do not want to pay the price that peonies are normally, which can range from $25 up to $50 and more for peonies. So I got that one, I think, for $4.98. And I'm not sure that it'll bloom this year. It'll probably be next year. And here are more lilies that we have set around in here. These are going to be all different colors. There are whites and pinks, and there's some Asian exotic lilies in here, so they are quite different colors. They're kind of a multitude of colors. And then some more of the peach with the purple centers, and some red. So we've got all kinds of different colors in here, and not all of them came up this season. That's happened in subsequent past years. They don't always come up. They will come up then in full fury the next following year, and we've had quite a bit of spread on them. And these two actually in the center, you see the short ones there in the center, got broken off really, really early by wind early in the season, so they won't bloom because they got broken off. But all of these others will, and we will probably put in some more in the fall. And I've been battling the weeds constantly in this section as well. And I did get out here and clean all of those weeds out, and I still have a whole section over there along the house to get completed. And you can see the bushes in the back that I have been trimming. Oh, so much trimming. And those bushes, it would look like a giant hedge out there, and now they're finally back to looking how they're supposed to look, which is individual. I don't really do the whole hedge thing. I don't want to block everybody out. So anyway, that was that section. And then over here in this section, which gets quite shaded, I do have some butternut squash in here, and they had just came up a couple of weeks ago, and they are now beginning to get a little bit bigger, but it will be a slow process for them because it is so shaded in this area. It only gets like dappled sunlight throughout the day. And then sometimes in the later evening it'll get full sunlight. It just depends on how the trees are blowing and all kinds of things. So we'll find out if these butternut squash do anything or not. But they are getting plenty of fertilizers and things like that. I actually fertilize these because this soil here is the native soil, and the native soil is completely alkaline and doesn't have very many minerals in it. So we usually amend everything, and this section just had not been amended because this was a whole new section. I had planned on completely tilling all of this up and starting from basically the beginning and amending everything. Only that section over there got amended. But I just didn't have time this season. We did so much already, or I did so much already in this season, that it's just amazing how much that I did get done as far as cleaning up around the area. There was just so many leaves and trash from people throwing stuff into our yard and all kinds of stuff from this season, that it was an amazing amount of stuff that had to be carried out of here. So those butternut squash will probably come on and do what they need to do. It just will take a little bit. And then of course on around in this section I have my hostas, and I've still got my blackberry, my raspberry, my blueberries to figure out where to stick. They're doing just fine in the pots. They're not worried about anything. So I still have to figure out where to put these. I may actually put them in this section because they do like a little bit more shade than they do full sunlight. So we will find out what we do with those. I'm not really sure at this point. And then we have all of the hostas that I had cleaned up this season and tried to separate out a little bit because they had gotten huge in the past years, and that's just because the root system had gotten so big. And we've got some hostas there in the back. So we've got all of those that are separated out, and I've got them, especially the variegated one here, started over in this section from a root from that one over there. And then I've got my my rhubarbs tucked in here, 2 of them, and they are now beginning to put on new leaves and doing great. Looks like I've got another leaf coming up and another one with this one, so they're doing great. And we've got some lemon balm here, and we're not really sure. We had planted both lemon balm and lemon mint in this pot, and we're not sure if only the lemon balm came up or only the lemon mints, but it's only one or the other of either one of those, and so we're just not sure. So I guess we will figure it out. And all the flowers are doing fantastic. And again, I'll have to separate this video out because the phone only does about 15 minutes worth of video, so we will have a part 2 section of this video here in a moment. And always make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notices on new videos as they come out. I know I do mostly tours of the garden, but I do some videos where I do advice and tips and tricks and things like that, as well as cooking videos and just whatever that I can think of to do, and hopefully it helps someone. That is what I do. So I hope that you enjoy these videos when I put them out, of tours of how the garden is doing so far. Anyway, these are more jack-o'-lanterns here in the front, and then we have some acorn squash in the back. The acorn squash is a lot younger than the jack-o'-lanterns are, so the jack-o'-lanterns will bloom before the acorn squash do, and so there should not be any cross-pollination. And then we've got the section where I put my kohlrabi, my kale, and my mustard. And then I also planted in the back section some turnips. And you see that black fabric, that is the landscaping fabric that I keep pulling up. There is so much of it in this section, and it's actually double layered in a lot of places, because I guess they tried to replace the one that was there before. And that stuff does not prevent weeds, in my opinion, whatsoever. In fact, it kind of just has weeds get intermingled in with the fabric and are very hard to get rid of. And especially if you're trying to come in then and plant something, and then you're having to cut through the fabric, you're having to do all kinds of things. So I would rather be completely rid of all of this black fabric and just have the soil, where that way I can get in there and actually clean the weeds and know what I'm cleaning out. So we have the mustard in this section, the kohlrabi and the kale. I have 2 different kinds of kohlrabi, and they're really beginning to come on now. And I don't really care for kale that much. I never have. I think it's kind of bitter, even the sweetest kale. And I've got all different varieties of kale in this section. This was a blend pack, so it had sweet kale and it had Russian kale and all kinds of stuff, but I don't really care for it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and see you in a part 2 of this video.